Oh, you did sit there. Okay, go ahead. Go right ahead.
Who do we have signed up? We have anybody signed up?
For a public forum, only April.
Okay, she said that's a proclamation.
You need to swear those people in on that special use permit, right? Mr. Haynes.
I'll get him to affirm.
What are we, is she gonna read the proclamation? Does she want me to read the proclamation? What does she want? That'd be great. That'd be good.
What money?
He didn't read the minute. You didn't read your package, did you?
Ain't
You
nothing
didn't
there
read
from
your-
the sheriff.
Hmm?
Ain't nothing there from-
No, public safety. Same thing,
He
isn't it?
was doing Marlboro County, so it's a tough question.
No, it's those sheets,
Oh, okay.
the outline.
Sheriff, he was with him or not.
Oh,
Yeah.
that
Well,
thing.
I
Yeah,
told
that
you,
was
no,
on radio.
I
Remember we
talked
had
to him.
Shannon in contact.
Yeah. And I talked to him. I don't know that I've ever met him, but I talked to
That's
him
the
on
money we
telephone.
already allocated.
Lots
We
of
already
times.
allocated,
I don't know that I knew that was.
When
for
me-
That
sale.
was not just for the sheriff, that's for the fire.
not the way he broke it down.
Well, public safety, I guess, is why he said it. But that was, it has to be all of them. If we don't do them all, they can't do none of
Yeah,
them, you know.
I don't, if I knew that, I have forgotten that, but I don't believe I
I
know.
want you to see how it's broken out.
We went down there today to qualify.
I want you to see how it's broken out.
Oh, we were down there from 11.
For the cemetery.
Only?
Probably for
Probably
the
for the
cemetery.
cemetery. I don't,
You know how people
You
get
never-
this.
Did you have?
Well, I have to go to one.
You gotta go to one, so it's where to get excited for one.
yeah,
I know.
I don't know. I don't know. I know there's an airport thing and some of the fire here. They want to buy another truck.
She's good.
Oh, yeah.
But she told us the weekend that she knew we were
No,
coming. and
this
She
is a
was
different thing.
make sure she was not in the office when we got there.
But that thing you talking about was, had them radios.
It said Viper, yeah, that's a lot of money to pay for some radio.
Who is
And we got other
Well,
projects
that's that,
coming.
that's
Yeah.
that
Okay.
800 megahertz system that they talking about that they've been looking to move everybody to for years, but we just ain't done it. But when it gets,
That what? Yeah, yeah. Well, we always did do steel shell building. I mean, you know, that's
I know,
good.
but I mean, I thought they were doing all that on their own.
I don't see Stuart.
You talking about this?
Well, I don't remember talking about
No,
it.
that's not him.
I don't remember talking about the ship, you know, for us to talk.
No, this is coming out of that new state move.
Yeah.
But I still think we ought to talk about that room. A room.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Whit Gibson, the chairman of the Scotland County Board of Commissioners. I welcome all of you here for the August 1st meeting of the Board of Commissioners. At this time, I'd like to call on Commissioner B.J. Gibson for our invocation.
Would you bow your heads? Our God and our Creator, we thank you for this day. We are so grateful for the many blessings that you continue to bestow upon us. We seek now your guidance and your wisdom as we shall move forward to discuss the business of this county. Allow us to do what is in the best interest of every citizen and that you might be pleased. For it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, sir. You'd stand with me and face the flag as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have speaking to the commissioners, we have an agenda before us. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Gibson, a second by Commissioner McCall. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. It's our tradition and intention each month to have a public forum by which people sign up to address this group. I think at this time we have one person who has signed up to do that, and I will call on April Sneed, our Director of Department of Social Services.
Thank you. Good evening. Hope you are doing well. I wanted to come for just a few brief moments and let you know August is Child Support Awareness Month across the nation, certainly in North Carolina and Scotland County. We have some of our child support staff with us tonight. So glad to have them here. Child support doesn't get a lot of recognition, but the last few years in Scotland County, you need to know they've done big things. This staff have absolutely surpassed what they've been expected and what they've been required to do. Over the last 2 years, each year, this staff has collected approximately $5.6 million in child support from Scotland County and surpassed the goal that the state has set, but between 7 and 10% every year. So one, I want to commend them for that. It's not easy work, certainly not easy work in our county, given some of our conditions, but they do some innovative things that bring those child support payments in. So there is a proclamation for August being Child Support Awareness Month, and I'd like to read that.
Okay, would you mind having them stand, and if they would introduce themselves?
Absolutely. Here we are. We have Mr. Gary Deaver, who's here, and Miss Gwen is here. Miss Shakisha is here, and April is one of our supervisors in child support. And they're one of about 13 in the unit.
Well, we thank you all for the work that you do.
Okay, so I'm going to read it's a short proclamation. Whereas children are entitled financial support from their parents, and North Carolina continues to improve its efforts at child support collections, and whereas North Carolina Child Support Services is dedicated to serving families and children in North Carolina, and whereas in fiscal year 2022-23, over $7 million was collected, providing support for approximately 286,000 people and children. Whereas children who do not receive adequate financial and emotional support from their parents may experience greater difficulty in becoming happy, healthy, and productive adults. And whereas many concerned and dedicated judges, district attorneys, clerks of court, sheriff's personnel, and child support professionals work to establish and enforce child support orders for North Carolina's children, one of our state's most vital resources. Now, therefore, it be proclaimed by the Scotland County Board of Commissioners that the month of August 2022 is to be Child Support Awareness Month in Scotland County, proclaimed this first day of August 2022.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
And Ms. Sneed, thank you very much for your hard work too. Okay, next on the agenda, we have a consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve our consent agenda?
Does that include that proclamation? Or do we need to do that separate?
And we can do that separately. Let's address the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? From John, a second from Mr. Ivy. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That is approved. Mr. Ivy, would you like to?
I'll make the motion for the proclamation on the child support for August 2022.
Motion to approve the proclamation. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner McCall. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Next on the agenda, the Southeast Regional Airport Authority report. I think we have Seth Hatchell, and I believe we have at least one of their board members with us and maybe more. Let Mr. Hatchell introduce them to us, if you will.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Seth Hatchell, the Assistant Director with the Laurinburg-Maxton Airport. And with me tonight, we also have our Chairman of the Board, Guy McCook. And he is also the Scotland County representative on the board. So Guy McCook is sitting beside me over there. Thank you for having us tonight. It's an honor to be here on behalf of the Southeast Regional Airport Authority. This is actually only the second time that we've given an annual report to the Scotland County Board of Commissioners. The first time was actually last year. So a little bit about the Airport Authority. It is the governing board of the Laurinburg-Maxton Airport. It's comprised of 7 voting members and 1 non-voting members, 3 representatives from the city of Laurinburg, 3 representatives from the town of Maxton, and 1 representative from Scotland County, which is Chairman Guy McCook. And then also we have 1 non-voting ex officio member who is the director of the Scotland County Economic Development Corporation, which is Mr. Mark Ward as well. So Mark's also on our board. I didn't give you a shout out earlier. Some of these figures on the board here, it's pretty exciting to see. Every 2 years, the North Carolina Department of Transportation Division of Aviation does a biennial economic impact study where they analyze each individual airport and see how it measures in the grand scheme of the national airspace infrastructure. And so that top number on the board, $95,430,000, is the estimated impact of the Laurinburg-Maxton Airport. And also from state and local taxes, our also projected revenue is $381,000. If you look at it in the grand scheme of all the airports across North Carolina, there are 62 general aviation airports, and we rank 13th on that list. So that's really exciting to see that rural North Carolina, something for Scotland County to be proud of, city of Laurinburg, and the town of Maxton. Something else that we just recently did was we approved our annual budget. And so we did that at our June meeting, and we actually approved the largest budget in the airport's history right at $1,857,955. And so we're already a month into this year's budget, but we're looking forward to the next 11 months. And part of a big reason for that increase is our based aircraft. So we have 22 based aircraft on the field that call Laurinburg-Maxton Airport their home, which is really exciting. And that might not seem like a large number, but when I first started in 2019, there were only 8 based aircraft. So in 3 years, give or take, we've seen that number almost triple. So that's really exciting to see, and it really talks to the state of aviation across the state, but also here at the Laurinburg-Maxton Airport. Every single hangar on the facility is full, so that's very exciting. We also have a waiting list. That's something we haven't had in a couple decades, so we're really excited for that and just to see the desire for aviation here. So kind of also with the based aircraft, we want to make sure that we provide a world-class infrastructure. And so we actually, I put 6 active projects, but we actually have 7. So you'll have to forgive me for that. But we have 6 on the aviation side and 1 on the water and sewer side. We're also a water and sewer provider as well. And so we are doing some collection systems rehabilitation on the water sewer side. And then on the aviation side, we got a plethora of things that we're looking at. We're looking at a brand new airport terminal. We're also looking at a brand new fuel farm. Our existing fuel farm is underground, and it was put in place in the 60s. And so, of course, there's been some new standards that have come out since then. So we want to make sure that we're in compliance and up to date. We're also looking at some apron rehabilitation. So the Laurinburg-Maxton Airport was originally an Army air base for gliders back in the 40s. It was built during World War II. And so with that came a lot of concrete that is now 80 years old. So we're having to make sure that we're tending to that concrete. There's a lot of it out there. So part of that, we're doing some apron rehabilitation. We're going to make some additional room for aircraft to park because, of course, we're seeing that demand, which we're really excited for. We're also working on the runway extension, which I know many of you are familiar with. And so with that, we're just finishing up our airport layout plan update, which is our 5, 10, 15, 20-year master plan, if you will, for the airport. So it's our projected growth and the facilities that we're going to need based off our traffic count. So we just got that approved by the board at the May meeting. And so now it goes to the Division of Aviation for approval and from there to the Federal Aviation Administration. We're finishing up our environmental assessment as well and have just begun preliminary engineering on the runway. So there's a lot going on at the airport that we're really, really excited for. And we're grateful for the partnership that we have with Scotland County and the Board of Commissioners and continuing this partnership in the future as well. I've thrown a lot of information at you in a very short span of time. Do you have any questions for me or about the airport?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I think I know some of the answer, but I may not know enough. This 1,857,000.
Yes, sir.
How will Scotland County benefit? How are we going to benefit from that?
So how will Scotland County benefit from the budget that was approved by the Airport Authority?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So of course, all that money is going into the operations of the airport. And so of course, unlike most general aviation airports, we actually are completely self-sufficient. So we don't receive any funds from Scotland County or the city of Laurinburg or the town of Maxton. So we're very unique in that regard, and we're very fortunate for that. But also to that, by passing this budget, we're also investing in infrastructure to help grow. And we talked about that economic output. So that's just dollars going back into the local economy. So something we're very excited for is to just keep reinvesting in Laurinburg-Maxton Airport and the surrounding community, of course, which would be Scotland County. Does that answer your question? Kind of, sort of?
Kind of, sort of. Thank you.
Seth, I've heard the college talk about economic impact on Scotland County. I've heard the school system the healthcare system. Explain to me, if you can, in not in great detail, but how you figure the economic impact of 93 million,
Of course. So
95 million.
I can look into this further, but this was actually information that was specifically given to us by the Division of Aviation. So every 2 years, they ask us information. How many operations do you have? Which, of course, your gas taxes that we sell at the airport goes back into the local economy. How much infrastructure, how many projects do you have going on? What are the costs of those projects? What kind of contractors are you utilizing? So I don't know that information specifically, Chairman Gibson, but I'll be happy to look into that and maybe get some more. It's actually provided by North Carolina State University that comes up with that information.
As long as it's not an advertisement for North Carolina State University, but go ahead.
Try not to do that. Seth's doing a great job, but I think the part of what we miss out there is that when the airport was given to the town of Laurinburg and the town of Maxton, there were 4,000 acres in that tract that was given to the two towns. What this $95 million, part of what that takes is it takes the economic output from all of the industry that's located on that 4,000 acre tract.
Okay.
And so we have a footprint that is basically 4,000 acres. A lot of it we don't own anymore. We own a little over 2,000 acres now.
Still.
So we've sold off some of that property out there. Much of it we provide water and sewer to those entities out there, but Meritor,
Cortiva, AgriScience.
we've got a bunch of industries out there, and those are jobs in our community. That's economic output to our community, and we take credit for that.
Okay.
The Division of Aviation has a formula that they use to calculate this information. And it's really just a way to compare us to other airports in the state.
Well, that's a huge economic impact.
Absolutely.
And it had to come from something other than just the airport operation.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
And I will say that one of the things that we are doing is part of the reason that Mark was added to the Airport Authority Board is because one of our intents is to continue to increase our focus on economic development out there. So one of the things we've identified some sites out there, one of which you'll be hearing more about, the Canal Wood site, which is right near the entrance to the airport. But we're going to be taking some funds this year to make that site shovel ready. And part of that has to do with the land swap that we're talking about doing between the county and Richmond Community College and us, that would allow them to do the truck driver training school out there on site. And it would give us the final piece of that triangle that we need to make that a industrial site.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other question?
What direction is that runway expansion? Is it going to be to the north or the south?
So it's going to go to the south, more of the southwest. So we are looking, part of the preliminary engineering, there is a road there, Airport Road is there.
Right.
And so we are going to have to relocate Airport Road. So that's something we're looking at with the environmental assessment, the preliminary engineering. But yes, sir. So we will go from 6,500 feet long to 8,500 foot. And that will make us the longest runway for a general aviation airport in the state of North Carolina. So another big asset for Scotland County that we're excited about.
Well, that should help encourage economic development as well.
Absolutely.
Well, we appreciate all that you do. And I know you're excited about your position with the organization, and we're excited about you being there.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having us and for allowing us to do our annual report. And we're excited for the future and the partnership that we do have with Scotland County.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mac McDougall, Chairman of the Fire Commission. Mac and whoever you want to bring with you.
I think most of y'all know me. I'm Mac McDougall, Chairman of the Scotland County Fire Commission. We're here tonight to talk to you about replacing the tankers in the county. At our December 2021 meeting, when the meeting was about to end, we went through the new business Chief Locklear came up that we need to replace tankers. We got into a discussion about it. We realized this was going to be a lengthy discussion and could have some controversy. So we tabled it to the next regularly scheduled fire commission meeting. This gave me time to try to come up with a plan to buy the tankers. In mid-January, I had a proposal ready. Robert and I went to see Kevin, see if we could get his blessings on it. The proposal was to buy 6 identical trucks. And hopefully, we didn't know what the price would be. We were having to guess with inflation like it is. And from the last tanker that was bought was in 2015. So we guessed between $300,000 and $350,000 a truck. I felt like with the money that we had in the fire fund, we could buy 3 trucks this year in July of this year, or order 3 trucks, then order 3 more in July of 2023. The old tankers that we replaced will be surplused and sold, and the money put back into the fire fund. We'll have 5 tankers to surplus. The Spring Hill tanker will be moved to the north substation to replace the 94 tanker that's up there. The 94 will be surplus. The Wagram tanker will be moved to the south substation that Laurinburg mans to put a tanker in that substation. So that leaves us the 2 Laurinburg trucks, the Laurel Hill truck, the Gibson truck, and the 94 up at the north substation to sell. Kevin said at the meeting that he liked the idea of standardizing the trucks and letting them all be just alike. He didn't see a problem with it. He would like to see us do as many as we could afford in that first year. So I went and called for a fire chiefs meeting for around the 1st of February. So we had all the fire chiefs get together here to come up with the specs for the new truck. I figured this was going to be a drawn out meeting, a pretty long one. May even have to have 2 of them. The chiefs all got together real quick. They came up with the specs in an hour and a half. We were adjourning the meeting and on the way home with me with the specs to send to the 4 vendors. They picked 4 different companies they wanted to bid on the trucks. Deep South from Mississippi, Fire Connections from Rocky Mount, Safe Industries from Sumter, and Atlantic Coast Fire Company from Pennsylvania. After the fire chiefs meeting in the end of February, we had a called full fire commission meeting. We brought this proposal before the fire commission, the specs before the fire commission. Fire commission voted unanimously to accept the proposal and the specs for the fire trucks. In March, we had 2 of the vendors come down. We had 2 fire commission meetings in March, 1 vendor at each meeting make their presentation to us. In April, we had 2 more fire commission meetings with the last 2 vendors to make their presentation. And once we got through with that, Robert and I went to Sherry Lynn with the county to get the formal bids made up to go out. She suggested that we use HGAC Buy Solutions, which the county is a member of. All of the vendors, if they wanted to bid on it, had to be a member of that organization. And we lucked out. All 4 vendors belong to it. This lets us, they help with the bid process to be sure we're transparent and everything is fair. The bids went out around the 9th of June. They were given 30 days to have their bids back to Robert. 3 of the 4 companies bid on the truck. Deep South, Fire Connections, and Safe Industries. Atlantic Coast Fire Company did not bid. We had a fire commission meeting July the 15th. The sealed bids were opened in this room. Kevin was at the meeting. And the low bid was Deep South Fire Trucks in Mississippi. The other two companies were about 600,000 higher than Deep South was. The Deep South trucks are, as you can see up there, the 6 of them will cost us $1,946,400. We can order all 6 at one time. All vendors told us if we ordered 3 and turned around and ordered 3 more next year, we would be looking at $30,000 to $50,000 per truck more because of inflation and the supply chain. So we feel like we can save a really good chunk of money ordering them all at one time. We have been very responsible with the fire fund money, the fire tax money, and we do have the funds to do this and not jeopardize our normal obligations. So we're at the last step of it. We've had a lot of meetings. There's been a lot of work put into this, a lot of thinking. So now we're coming before you, the Scotland County Commissioners, asking your permission to be able to go forward with the contracts.
Okay.
If you want to see a picture of the trucks, I've got some. I can let them pass around if you want to look at it.
Well, I have a question on it. The difference in the bids from Deep South and just say safe is about $100,000. Is there a big difference in the truck? Is
They're
it
all
something,
the same specs.
maybe just a different brand? I mean, there's some reason they can do it for $100,000
Different brand.
less.
We have 5 Deep South trucks in this county right now. We have 4 pumpers and 1 tanker. And Chief McQueen over here with Laurinburg, he has no problem. He has 2 Deep South pumpers. He has no problem with them. Chief Jones has a Deep South pumper and tanker. He's no problem. He's been real instrumental in helping us with the specs. Bill Norton Spring Hill's got a Deep South pumper.
That's just a big difference in
Tell them about
numbers.
the plant and what.
Basically, Deep South is a non-union plant. Both of those other 2 are both union, so your labor prices are
A lot higher.
Because in the specs, the trucks are all identical, bodies are pretty much identical.
How long do these trucks normally last?
20 years.
20 years.
That's usually the life expectancy on a truck.
Is it basically a maintenance, not maintenance free, nothing's maintenance free, but the maintenance is not that often, is it? I mean, it's pretty good with maintenance.
It's just, it'd be, with a fire truck, most of the time it's no more than a general running up and down the road truck or a vehicle. You gonna have your normal maintenance on it. But unless it's catastrophic failure, but we try not to have too many of those.
It certainly is attractive.
So that would put a new tanker at every station.
Yes.
Which one was it? This is,
Then, once we do this, we will be
this is.
14 years before we
Same
need to buy
truck,
pumpers
just
again.
refuse
So
Can we get that in writing?
we'll have time for the fire fund to build.
Run up, yeah.
So
I
hopefully
got
when
you.
that time
You
comes, we can do this again and have the money to pay
Yeah.
for
Yeah, you mentioned that you have a 2015 tanker.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's yours.
them. See it.
Yeah, mine was a 94.
Okay, so where's that one going? It stays at your
He's not
station.
getting a new truck.
He's not getting a new truck.
He's got the 2 newest ones in the county.
He's done all this work and he doesn't get a new truck. Okay. We appreciate your work. We're glad you're not taking a new truck.
Just curious.
Now, these trucks will have a 2,000 gallon water tank and a 1250 per gallon a minute pump. They're high sided, have the compartments for equipment to go in. We ordered with the truck a 2,000 gallon drop tank, the 3 ladder set to go in it, 2 hard suction hoses that go on top enclosed, 2 pike poles, and 1,000 feet of 5-inch LDH hose. That's in the bids for these trucks. Fire departments will need to put the minimum equipment with the tank size and the pump size they will be able to be certified as pumper tankers instead of just a tanker. This will help with their ISO rating to keep the 6 that we've worked so hard to get. The 2,000 gallon tank is critical in this county with the water system because of the water haul program
Right.
that each department is certified in.
Mac, do you anticipate any problem with them manufacturing these trucks?
According to what Deep South told us when they made their presentation, if we had ordered the trucks in July, which we're a month behind, but that's no big deal. He said that he would deliver 2 trucks in March, 2 in April, and 2 in May. We pay for the trucks as they're delivered, upon delivery. And, you know, we should be fine. We've got 1 tanker right now. Laurel Hill's truck is in the shop. It's got to have pump work done on it. If we can get these others, every tanker in the county, they're 20 to 22 years old, except the one at the north substation is 28 years old.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of the chairman?
I just have one question. When you sell a 20-some-year-old truck, what do you normally get for it?
We're going to get, Chief Jones knows a company that will come and appraise these trucks for us. And we're gonna have them appraised and come up and then let the county put them on the market for sale. I don't know.
Well, it is what it is.
I have no idea right now what you could get for them.
It's kind of like your regular used car.
Pardon?
At the end of the day, it's kind of like your regular used car market. Right now, the time to sell one was what cost you $5,000 2 years ago, but now 8 to 10 on the lot. So part of it the same.
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman, if I'm in order, I'd like to offer a motion that we accept the low bid for replacement of the 6 fire tankers.
we have a motion to replace the 6 tankers at the contract with Deep South Fire Truck. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, sir, for all your good work, every one of you.
Thank you for
Thank
helping.
What's next on the agenda?
Yeah.
I think it's up to you, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. At our regular meeting on June 15th, we had 3 requests come before the Zoning Planning Board. First 2 requests, I'm going to skip those and go to the ones you have on the board right there. This is special use application by Dwayne Haynes for placement of a family cemetery on his property. Through the research through the zoning administrator, we found that the plat, that the sketch that's suggested is within the standards for the ordinances. It is greater than 100 feet away from the closest residence. The plat is also within the standards for the number of plots that are suggested to be put on it. And we found that we had no issues with the request. And we voted and approved that for submittal to the county commissioners for their consideration. Any questions about that one?
Now, we need to have a public hearing in regard to that.
Okay,
Are you ready for us to do that at this point?
yes.
Okay. We've heard the proposal from the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Board in regard to this particular facility and what they have planned for that. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of the proposal? Okay, if you come to the, hold on just 1 second. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in opposition to this? Anybody who wishes to speak one way or the other, if you would come before our clerk, he will swear you in. If you'd report to him at this point.
Raise your right hand. You're going to affirm. Do you affirm to tell the truth in this matter? So help you God. I'm sorry. Do you affirm to tell the truth in this matter?
I affirm.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We'll hear from you at this point.
My name's Dwayne Haynes, and I want to say thank you guys for your hard work and dedication. A few years, well, a year or so ago, back, I called North Carolina County Cemetery Commission. Had some property I wanted to clean off, so I started cleaning it off, but I called to see if there's any regulations or rules that I needed to follow. And the only thing I was told by the people in Raleigh, well, you have to be a certain feet away, which is 100 feet away from water supply. And it has to be private property, but they never said you have to, you need to go to your local zoning board or whatnot and find out. So I had the land cleared, clean, ready for the seed. On July 7th, I was in El Salvador, got a call, my father passed. And so I'm here. I met all the requirements. My father's still in a funeral home. So I'm just here asking if.
Preston.
James is currently awaiting approval.
Okay.
So he can.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Haynes. And the position of the Planning and Zoning Board was approval of this zone?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Anything else you wish to say about this particular project?
No.
Do I have a motion from a member of this board?
So moved.
I have a question.
Okay.
The cemetery, will there be tombstones or will they be flat markers? Can anybody address that?
As far as I know, that's not anything that's at the discretion of the zoning and planning board on private cemetery. That may be something that would be a public cemetery, but there's nothing in our ordinances that tell us one way or the other.
Naturally, I'm not opposed to it. I'm just, if I were living 100 feet from a cemetery, I wouldn't like to look at tombstones, you know. But there's nobody here opposing it. So. Well, I'm scared of graveyard, but I don't oppose it.
Okay.
I just want to ask.
Any other questions?
No.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
The motion by Commissioner Ivey, second by Commissioner McCall. Any further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Anything else?
The second item that came up was a request for rezoning from RA to heavy industrial for a property off Aberdeen Highway for mining. Second item on that was a special use application if we approve the rezoning. We ended up tabling this motion because there's certain requirements in our new ordinances that will not allow this property to be mined. We have in those ordinances, let me find that. It does meet the requirements for mining. And this is from the North Carolina General Statutes. It's the same definition that's in our ordinances. But within our ordinances, a use of separation. And I've been through this general statutes. They don't talk about use of separation in anything for mining in any of the North Carolina General Statutes. So what we have in our ordinances, it says the edges of any pit where a mining operation is taking place and any equipment used in the processing of rock and gravel, any asphalt plant or other industrial uses operating in conjunction with a mine or quarry shall be located at least 300 feet from any property line. Now, this property at best is only 400 feet wide. So regardless of where they place that, they're still going to be, they won't be able to mine anything. I have looked through everything and I can find nothing in any of the statutes that at current will allow us to pass this request and still be legal with our current ordinances. I've been back to the old ordinances and looked. This particular specification was not in the old ordinances. So I am under the impression, without having speaking with Jean Klein from Lumber River Council of Government, that this was probably her recommendation. And in our reading through the new ordinances, we did not find any reason that that was not going to be acceptable. Second to that, there's also a reference to buffering. And let me scroll right back up to that. A 50-foot screening and buffering on the outer edges of the property. So if we take 50 feet of that on either end, that would still only leave 300 feet of the property to mine, and he still couldn't do it. So we've got issues with the ordinances that preclude Mr. Frizell from mining this property currently. We don't, as a board, in our discussions, wish to deny him this opportunity. But under the current ordinances, we have no alternative but to table this and come back and discuss it later. But we did not approve it at our last meeting for discussion. But I think that this is going to take some more consideration on our part and figure out exactly where we go with this. It may end up with a board of adjustment because we just can't do it currently under the ordinances as they stand.
But now, had he made that application 30 days before that in June, it wouldn't have been an issue, right?
The zoning ordinance was approved in April.
Or whenever.
If he would have done
Yeah.
it in February, yes.
Yeah,
I've had conversations with the staff on this. And what I've recommended is not really a change in the mining ordinance, but actually create a sand mining definition, which would have a different separation, because that mining also includes, that's for your traditional mining,
Right.
which we're not going to have in Scotland County, but a sand mining, which would preclude explosives, which is,
it'd be the
Would have
easiest
a
way to
much
handle
better
it would be a sub-ordinance
Yes.
to that. And instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, and maybe that 300-foot setback needs to be looked at anyway, but
That's what
but
I was
but
wanting.
that
to
could
take
be
to the board
done in the,
meeting.
right,
So we can
and-
look at that, and also the buffer, 50 feet of buffer.
right.
Now, if Mr. Frizell would have been able to purchase the two pieces of property north of this, that would have completed
Right.
the entire property there, and there would not have been that buffering issue except on one property line. But he was unable to purchase those two pieces of property, from my understanding.
But if we can do up a sub-ordinance
Mhm.
and add it to the zoning, that'll eliminate the whole board of adjustment and everything then, right? I mean, he won't, it'll fall within, should fall if it's written right.
Should.
Yeah.
Of
So,
course, we would have to make that request for an amendment back at the next board meeting, the next.
right.
Meeting here.
But y'all could do that in your August meeting
Yes,
and then bring it back here.
yes.
Maybe some notice requirements we will have to comply with, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
possibly be in a position to consider in September.
I mean, I don't see a way around it. I don't.
That's
No,
the cleanest way of handling it, I think.
But we would await the recommendation from your committee.
Yes.
Okay,
And that's us.
that's it.
My apologies for missing the last meeting. My wife has told me as a senior citizen, I'm supposed to volunteer as much as I can. I'm afraid I volunteered a little bit too much, and I had two meetings the same day. So my apologies.
Well, thank you for being here tonight. Joint grant application with Scotland County and the city of Laurinburg. I think this is,
This is, back in February, March, we had a meeting with, at one of the board meetings, Miss Michelle Thomas presented. There's a opportunity for, that HUD provides for technical assistance grants. It was decided, the conversation was to, for her to present with the city of Laurinburg, get their conversation, but start with looking at the possibility of a joint application or working with that. Ms. Thomas did make a presentation to City Council last week, and they were in favor of pursuing a potential grant in partnership with Scotland County. If the board is interested in pursuing that, I'll get with the city and we'll see about how we can proceed from here.
I think we are in favor of doing that. Is everybody familiar with that conversation?
It's the lady that met with us from Louisiana.
So we will instruct the county manager to proceed with
Okay.
that. COVID-19 update. Steve.
Good evening. The data I have is for week ending July 28th. Unfortunately, our community risk level is trending high again. We have 103 positive cases, 27.7% positivity rate. We have 4 new hospitalizations for weekend in 7/28, 0 deaths, and we have had 63.8% that have received at least 1 dose of the vaccine and 49.5 that are fully vaccinated. Previously, we were giving vaccines just on Thursdays by appointment, but we found that some people cannot come in on Thursdays, so we have integrated that into our general clinic. So starting today, we are doing those vaccines every day by appointment through our general clinic. I'm really promoting that, and we have some upcoming community events that our nurses will also be available giving vaccines at the community events. We have received some at-home tests, COVID at-home tests, and we're giving those out every Monday and Tuesday from 9 to 11 and 1 to 3. And as of today, we've given out approximately 1,100 test kits since July 5th. Also, because our county was selected as one of the 4 pilot counties through the Rockefeller Foundation, Scotland County citizens can order free COVID tests at accesscovidtest.org, and they are delivered through Amazon to the citizens' home. So they wouldn't even have to come in to pick it up. It can be delivered directly to them. The goal is to provide direct-to-consumer at-home tests to historically marginalized areas. So we were one of the 4 counties chosen for that. Also, I wanted to address monkeypox. Every day I get a daily report, and right now there are 60 cases of monkeypox in North Carolina. Fortunately, Scotland County does not have any at this time. We do have 1 individual that we are monitoring for 21 days who has been in contact with someone with monkeypox, but he is not showing symptoms. But it is getting closer to our county because Richmond County and Hope County each have 1 case apiece. So it's spreading.
Would you mind giving us the number of persons that have the virus? You gave the number 103. Was that the total number in the county?
103 positive cases week ending July 28th. Yes.
Okay. And you gave some other information, but somehow I didn't hear it very well. You say 68% of people that
63.8% have had at least 1 dose of the
dose,
vaccine, and 49.5 are fully vaccinated.
How many hospitalized people?
Hospitalizations 4 as of last Friday.
Oh, okay. It's not
4
too
new
bad.
ones.
So can you compare that to last month? I've forgotten what it was last month.
Last month, we were actually in a low community risk level, and it has now moved into high. I would probably contribute that to July 4th and people getting together more. Usually that's when we see the trend start to trend upward.
Okay.
Any other questions?
The positive cases were basically what type of virus did they have mostly? What type of virus?
I'm not sure what variant. They don't break that down for me. It's just, they just give me the total case of 103.
You had said that Scotland County was one of 4 counties that had been approved for a special project, and that folks could order those tests and they would be delivered by Amazon.
Right. They can go to accesscovidtest.org.
And my question is, how are we getting that information out to people?
Yes.
Okay. And how are we doing
The Rockefeller Foundation's actually advertising it, and it is also on the NCDHHS website and on our Facebook page.
And would you tell me again slowly what that access is?
accesscovidtest.org.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Steve. Alice Johnson report.
With Johnson, we have had the bid for the first phase of construction. We had to go through it 2 rounds. So we did have a pre-bid meeting with it. Bid it out. First time we only had 2 contractors, so we rebid it. The same 2 contractors resubmitted their bids. The official bid tab is in the packet. With that, the bids were very close, but the base bid of Hawks was lower for $1,420,307 was the base bid, and that is the recommendation that the board approve the base bid. If you're looking at the bid tab, bid option 4 was to repair the floor versus replace the floor. It's our recommendation that we actually go in and replace the floor in the gym. That is not doing an overlay. That is removing the floor, removing the subflooring, basically going back down to the joists underneath and rebuilding the floor with a new one.
And the new is gonna be what kind of material?
Sir?
What type of material would the new floor be?
I don't know. It was in the specifications, but I don't know exactly. It is not the tongue and groove that is currently there.
It's not like a wood floor. It's
No.
like a rubber.
It's an
The ones they
athletic
put in
floor,
the
very
new-
similar to
you know,
weight room.
Those type of.
What's the life of that floor, Tim?
They're generally expecting them to be around 20 years.
Well, why the difference on that tab 4 where it talks about that, and then the Hawk shows a $45,000, I guess, plus, and the other one shows $150,000 less.
That's the engineer was not certain on why the replacement was that much less, unless he was just looking in to go in and cut. And I have not gotten that final answer on why that price difference.
But all that's included in the base bid.
Yes, sir. And this is the work done in the gym, the locker rooms in the gym, and coming out to the front foyer where we would have the Parks and Recreation office space that's being added in.
But all that's in this.
Yes, all that's in there.
These, with your base bids are what you're reflecting on here, then your options is 1, 2, 3, and 4 are additions to or
Yes, sir.
subtractions from.
Yes.
Okay, so that will change what the overall price is. Or is all of that is not, those extras are not included in the base?
Any of those options would be
And it-
amendments to the base bid.
Okay.
But see, that's where it gets confusing, because in reality, then that K and C, if you take the minuses out, there would be a cheaper bid than the other bid.
Yes.
That's why I'm wondering why there's a big, because that's a $200,000 difference in Hawk and K and C, just talking about the gym floor.
And the difference and the reason why I'm not specifically recommending the alternative, but it would be cheaper to go that way. But if you go with Hawks without bid option 4, either way, you wind up with a new gym floor versus repairing what is there.
Okay, so I guess, so what you're saying is that 45 and the 150 negative is Hawk is saying if they just repaired, it'll be $45,000 more.
Correct.
But if they do the whole replacement, it goes back to the base bid amount. I'm just wondering why, anyway,
Wait a minute.
that makes more sense now, but I
No,
mean,
tell me that again. If they replace it,
Both the base bid is, both companies are assuming that they will replace the flooring and the subfloor
of the gym,
of the gym.
that's included in their base price.
That is included in their base price. If we keep the existing floor in place, but put in a repair to it to put it back into an acceptable standard, Hawk says that will cost an additional $45,000. K&C says that will save $150,000.
And that's bid option number 4 on our tab.
Yes, sir.
that's just a big difference. I
That
mean,
doesn't make sense to me.
doesn't either, but I mean, I don't know if we should ask more. Well, maybe we shouldn't, because if we're not going to repair it, it won't matter. But I mean, you know, if you're going to replace it, then that bid tab won't matter. But I guess my question would be, why is there a $200,000 difference in the two? One's a positive, one's a negative.
Question I want to ask here, have we had our person to go out and check the floor, the subfloor, to see if it needs to be changed? Secondly, are we gonna use that gym so extensively that we need to invest a lot of money in the floor? That's my question. How much use are we gonna get for our money? Will that gym be used so extensively that we need to spend a couple $100,000 on the floor?
With that, we did have, we went in and cut sections out of the floor going down into the subflooring.
Yeah, I saw that section cut out.
Yeah, and had our engineer look at it. And that's why the base bid is a full replacement.
We think it shouldn't, I checked that piece that was cut out, and I didn't see any rot there, but I'm not
the joists, they did not mention any issues with any of the joists in it. And as a matter of fact, I think they said it was the joists were there and it was a concrete piering underneath.
Yeah.
So that part, there was no issues expressed by the engineer. But with that, the buckling just with the floor, and some of this has been the inactivity in the building that has gotten in there, and we don't know exactly where there's going to be issues. We know where there's issues on the flooring, but we don't know where those issues creep into the subfloor throughout the building, throughout the gym.
Until you start tearing it out.
Until you get in there and start tearing it all out.
If we're age of that school, you know, we don't even know when the floor was put in the gym, do we?
That was probably original to the gym.
Yeah. So to me, it's a better choice to get it replaced rather than repair.
If we replace it, that will give us a 20-year floor.
What do you think? So John, best to go and replace it.
We'll have maintenance that we'll have to do on it.
Well, if you leave it as it is, or the tongue and groove floor, it's going to cause more maintenance, because you got to polish it and wax it and
Over
do
time.
that ever so often, I guess. And if you had that vinyl rubber floor in there, it's more of a multi-use type flooring, where you could have something in there that's not, because normally on a basketball court, you don't want people walking around on that floor. But those type of floors, I think you can more.
Yeah, they're multiple use floors, and you don't have to wear sneakers.
Right. Yeah. You don't want people out there dancing on that court. Not like it is now. I mean, But I
Both of the,
still
ba-
say
both of the
whatever
base
we do
bids
here-
include a new floor.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to cut that logo out.
To save
Put
it.
it to save somewhere. In the middle of the court, yeah.
Do I have a motion?
I'll offer a motion that we approve the low bid with Hawk Builders for phase one of the IEJ project.
I
Yes.
second
We
that.
have a second. Commissioner Golston, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. It's unanimous. Ayes have it. Thank you. Laurel Hill.
Laurel Hill Community Center, that project is still ongoing. I believe the last question was selection of colors for a pickleball court, and whether or not to have volleyball, but it is still, it is proceeding along and is still looking to have regular visits. I mean, it's still set to be complete on time. As a matter of fact, they're looking to change we're looking to go from monthly meetings to twice a month meetings on project as we go through the closeout.
What are you talking about, the volleyball court? At the pickleball court?
No, inside the
Oh,
gym, like you do in Wagram, they have
I
it
got
where
you,
they can
yeah.
have
And expected completion is when? October?
it 1st of October.
Any questions, comments?
Yes. I had some alums from the school there in Laurel Hill that have some memorabilia that they would like to bring back. We have discussed that about the Johnson project, and the folk in Laurel Hill had come to me. They would like for us to build them some kind of what do you call it, trophy stage, something to enclose so they can bring some of their memorabilia back and put it in the building. And I would like for us to,
Trophy cases.
some kind of case,
Like a lighted case.
a lighted
Yeah.
case or
Glass,
whatever.
yeah.
They had like jerseys and stuff. they
Yeah,
wanted to hang in
and
there.
I don't know how big it would have to be, but I would like for the board to consider that. And advise Kevin, to talk with the contractor, build it in as we are going through with the project. So come October, it will be there and not something to add on.
We didn't have a discussion about the cabinet last time when you weren't here. We did discuss that there was an area defined for that,
Okay,
but we haven't talked about the actual cabinet.
so can we deny? Because
If they,
we'll have it a couple of months here.
Yeah.
We'll be in it.
Probably better to find one and order it than it would be to try to build it.
I don't know.
if they have the material that's interested in displaying, and if there are guidelines for displaying that we want to create, that would be beneficial. But if we know exactly what's going to be displayed, if we have Michael Jordan's practice jersey, that's one thing, but I have a 1972 Volkswagen I want to put in there on a display case. It's a different thing. We just need to have people, if they will reach out to Parks and Recreation and say, this is exactly what I have, so we can determine something that's
Hey, from the
appropriate.
board, can I head it up? Can I get with the folk in Laurel Hill and see what they have and bring it back to the board?
Take care of
Do
it.
that.
Yes, sir.
Well, I would say, yeah, we need to go ahead and handle that.
Okay,
Just,
well,
just go ahead and handle it because
Oh,
we
okay.
got to get the case built or ordered.
And you
or
need to
whatever
know
we're
what
gonna
they
do.
have.
I'll
before
find
you
out
do
what
it.
they,
And you do need something governing what can be accepted to go in the case. and
Yeah.
what is not appropriate to go in the case. Or you're gonna have
I want to put my
A room
votes
full of
away.
stuff.
Yeah, I understand.
that's,
Yeah.
somebody's gotta make a decision
Okay,
about.
so I'll get with some of the folk
Yeah.
there and find out what they're talking about
Can,
putting in it.
can you include Brian Graham in that conversation?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think he needs to be a part of
Yeah.
that because we need the same kind of apparatus when we look at Johnson.
Okay, I'll get with it.
So
I'll bring the information back next meeting.
Because that, and I know, probably some of the same people have have the cutout from, Laurel Hill, the old gym. And if it looks like something that we wind up building, or if we put a display case, it might be something that would be put in the back. You know,
They have a piece of that floor, but I'm not sure how big it is that they want to put up in there. And then some people said about baseball jerseys and basketball jerseys and trophies, I guess. I don't know. That's just the ones I've talked to.
I'll find out.
Okay.
appointments, we did not have any applications for appointments this month.
Nothing tonight.
And I was on the phone at our last meeting, and Tim, did anybody bring up about Gibson?
I was on the phone too, but I thought about that, but I know they've contacted him about it.
Let me bring this up. When as this board knows, we were invited to attend the town council meeting in Gibson, and there were several of us that went. Kevin went, Tim went, I went, and we had a good conversation with them. In the context of that conversation, they have created their own zoning committee, and they wanted this board to appoint a member to that board. And we talked about a name.
But they wanted a non-Gibson resident appointed to that board.
And Brian Gibson used to live in Gibson. I think they no longer live in Gibson. And I think Tim contacted Brian to see if he would be willing to serve, and he was willing to do that. At this point, I would recommend that we appoint Brian Gibson to the Gibson Planning and Zoning Board if he still is willing to accept that appointment. I make that in the form of a motion.
I'll make that motion that we appoint.
Okay.
You made the motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. We told them that we would try to get that done.
Was there anything else about visitation there that was significant?
It was a very cordial. They were very welcoming to us. We talked to them about what we were doing in Laurel Hill and Iles Johnson. We told them that we had earmarked some money that we might want to do something for their community at their request, and that we were wanting them to make suggestions to us. Some of the things that came out of that are just kind of the general conversation is they are very proud of their park. They think it's been cleaned up. It looks good. They would like to have additional playground equipment there. They talked about they would like to, these are the conversations. They've not made a request of us yet, but they liked what has been done at Hammond Park. I think they would like to see a shelter there and perhaps a bathroom. They think it would get more use. When I left there, I stopped at the park, and there were two different sets of people enjoying it. One, a young family with a baby in a carriage, and there's some there. The walkway probably needed some repair, but I think we are kind of invited them to make suggestions to us as to what they would like to see.
And we allocated money for that, right? And I mean, I don't remember what it was, but I think Carol made the motion for it. So
yeah, so
there's money there to do that.
Yeah.
But I would like them to say, this is what we're formally requesting. I mean, they kind of did that night, but it wasn't a formal request.
Well, they really hadn't had a lot of time to think about it. We would rather let them have a conversation with the citizens and come back to us. I was glad we went. I thought it was time well spent on our behalf. Next on the agenda, what's next on the agenda?
All right. With the passage of the state budget, there was a direct allocation to Scotland County for $2,375,000, broken out into two pots. One was for capital projects. The other one was for fire and rescue. With that, just breaking that down as the board needs to approve allocation of those funds. Some of the projects are listed on here. The county also agreed to fund $300,000 to the rescue squad in addition to normal operations, which is matched by the city of Laurinburg for the purchase of a new rescue truck and additional equipment. But with that, we've also had conversation about the purchase of Viper radios for public safety, which would include the sheriff's office, which should make a significant improvement in the issues that he has in the northern part of the county as well as parts of Gibson. This would impact fire rescue, police department, as well as EMS. As in addition to, of course, maintaining support for the rescue squad. But with that, my recommendation is to allocation for Viper radios and maintaining the rescue squad balance. But that would take the $2,375,000 that the state appropriated, that would allocate $1,371,000 for that, which would leave just over $1 million that would be unallocated.
But if they allocated 375 for that fire and rescue and we only spend 300, are we not following what they?
The other 75 would go to radios.
Okay.
Well, tell me, why would the Viper radios cost $1,371,000?
They're expensive.
Okay. Are they completely necessary? This is state funds given to us to the county, right?
Yes. With this we're currently having UHF radios, and they work, but they are still line of sight. And the sheriff can probably give you better, and Robert can give you better explanations on what these are. But with this, and this Viper radios were specifically in the request in there because instead of having a UHF handheld radio, which we have a lot of, and they are about $600 a piece, these handheld Viper radios range from $2,500 to $5,000 a piece, depending on what you're getting.
So how many are we getting?
Just under 280. Because you're talking sheriff's department, EMS, fire, police. Now, not every volunteer fireman in the county get one. We're looking at 3 per station. But by the time you go through law enforcement, our paid public safety, that's a lot.
Mr. Chair, could we allow the sheriff and Mr. Sampson to give us some more information?
Absolutely.
On those Viper radios?
Gentlemen, would
just
you
to
like
what
to?
they entail and,
I'd like to see it.
yeah, it's a lot of money, but I understand.
Sheriff Kersey or Robert, either one of you wish to?
Yeah, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. So the reason why we're so interested in moving over to the Viper radio system, about 10 years ago, the state actually come down, and anybody in the state of North Carolina who had a UHF or VHF frequency that they were operating off of, which included all of us, was narrow banded. And without getting into a lot of detail on what that means, in the whole scheme of things, it reduced the capabilities for us to be able to use the frequency. So it reduced the coverage area whenever it had to be narrow banded. So for many years, the issues that we have had to deal with is there are certain areas in our county that once we get in those areas, we lose our communication capabilities. If we're up on the northern part of the county, if we're down in Gibson, when we try to key up to communicate back with the dispatch center, they're not able to hear us. And that is simply because of that mandate that took place many years ago when we had the narrow band. That was a federal mandate actually, and we didn't have a choice but to do that. We have been battling that ever since. We've done things, along the way to try to help that issue so it could improve our communications. But unfortunately, we're just not able to with the current system that we have. Now, the good thing about us having the VHF and UHF frequencies, those are our frequencies. We own those. Okay, so no one can take those away from us. And it is a good backup system for us to keep. So when we started looking at the Viper system, which is the new standard that all public safety is going to now, we don't own that. That's a state-owned system. That's why it's important that we keep our current VHF and UHF frequencies, because we do own those, and those are our backups. But moving over to the Viper system, what that allows is it takes all those dead spaces out of the equation. By going to the Viper system, if we are up in the northern part of the county or Gibson or anywhere else, we will be able to communicate. At the end of the day, it becomes a huge safety issue for all of our public safety. I'm not going to speak for law enforcement. I'm sure Sheriff will contest this. When we're up there off of Hill Creek Road, North Turnpike Road, Horseshoe Road, and we're in a bad situation, and the only thing I have is my portable radio, and I key up today, they're not going to hear me. And that's a huge safety issue. And that's what we've been battling for many years. We're I feel in having conversations with our county manager that we're finally at a point to where we can improve that. And that's what we're proposing to you guys tonight, to move over to the Viper system so that it will enhance our radio and communication capabilities for all of public safety in our county. Another thing that it will also do is when we have large events, i.e. hurricanes, things of that nature that are catastrophic to our county, as we all remember, sir.
The child search.
Yes. The child search that we had, the raw search that we had here a few years back, to where we have all of these outside agencies coming into our county to assist us during our time of need. Without this Viper system, we have a very hard time being able to communicate amongst them. But moving to the Viper system, like I said before, is now the new standard, then we can all communicate with each other. So yes, Commissioner Golston, this is, a significant amount of money. But when you look at what we're able to accomplish with this amount of money, it is money well spent.
I didn't realize so many areas would be involved with it. I didn't understand what
Yes,
Viper
ma'am.
was, period.
Well-
And I can see ourselves spending that $1,300,000 some dollars for so many other projects. But now that you explain it, I understand it.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm glad that we have the funds are coming to us so that you can get the system.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I didn't understand it before.
I'm gonna give you an example where I saw it in use when the little girl way up on Marston Road was missing
Mhm.
one night.
Mhm.
And they came from, I believe, Brunswick County. The sheriff can correct me if I'm wrong. He had sheriff standing there with his portable radio and could key up and they could barely understand what he was saying. The guy from Brunswick County was standing there talking to with the same radio or the same walkie, talking to his dispatcher in Brunswick County, just as clear as you and I sitting here talking right now.
And with that, they can talk anywhere. He could have been in Murphy talking to somebody in Manio.
Yeah.
On that radio.
Robert,
Yes, sir.
will we still maintain the other radios as well?
Yes, sir. So what our plans are, you approve for us to move over to the Viper system. As I said, the sheriff's UHF frequency that they currently operate off of, our VHF frequency that EMS currently operates off of, and then law enforcement and the fire department as well. We own those. The county owns those frequencies. No one can take those away from us. So our intent is that it will become our backup system. So in the event that if the state takes the Viper system down, because they do maintenance on them, various towers, every so often they have to do maintenance on the radio equipment. So they will take those the frequency down. We've had our radio, just brand new tower. The Viper system, they've had to go in and do maintenance, so they take it down. It may only be for 30 minutes. It may be for a couple of hours. But when those situations arise with, 911, we just flip our switches and we go back to our UHF, our VHF frequencies. It's not ideal because now we're right back to where we are today, but at least it still gives us some means to be able to communicate until the Viper system comes back up after the maintenance is complete.
Y'all never explained this to us before. I didn't know what the Viper system was.
But it seems like that would be an expensive backup system to keep.
Not necessarily, no, because it's already in place.
You just keep the old radios.
All we're doing is keeping the
Have to
frequency.
replace them, and you're gonna have to maintain them.
Well, yeah, but my thing about it is did we want to move the county and you can say this if law enforcement and fire too, until the city does it, or the city agrees that they want to do it, because and then you'd have a situation where the city couldn't talk.
I can answer it, Kevin, unless you want to. Go ahead. So when having meetings with the city is on board as well to move forward with the Viper system.
Are they going to pay for their radios?
The 1.3 million, and that's the next item. But the 1.3 million would include the city's radios as well.
So we use
For PD.
Okay, and just curious, does social services use these radios?
No.
We do use radio. All our social workers take radios out in the same location.
They would, this does not put them on the Viper. They would remain on UHF.
Will it work together?
No.
He said something to that.
I didn't hear any of that. I'm sorry if you.
So our 911 center will be able to monitor all the frequencies that we currently have. Right now we're currently operating off the VHF and UHF frequencies. SCATs, they operate off of UHF. DSS has radios. We're on VHF. Sheriff's Department's on UHF. And I know you don't understand those acronyms, but our 911 center has the capability to monitor all of those frequencies at one time. Okay. But bringing on the Viper system countywide, it's just another frequency that they monitor. At the end of the day, it's just another frequency.
The 911 center already has capability for the
yes,
Viper.
there are some modifications
Right.
we'll have to do within the 911 center to go countywide completely Viper. But yes, they will be able to monitor that as well.
So Mr. Chairman, this is just me thinking. Nothing, I don't want to sound negative at all about the city. Nothing at all. I think if one's going to do it and we can afford to do it all, but the number can't be but so much higher to put DSS in that number as well. I mean, if it's an issue, let's fix it for everybody.
It sounds like if it's an issue for law enforcement out in the county, why would it not be an issue for a social worker out in the county?
Would social services qualify to be on that system? I know it's a state system, so that's.
Talk loud. We want to hear it.
Public safety is the only thing allowed to be on the state by
That is, yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was thinking. But
Okay.
I didn't want to say it, to be on the Viper system, it is for public safety only.
That's why we're glad you're here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have all the answers, but I
Okay.
know how to get them.
Well, I guess my big thing is going to go back now with the statement made that this includes the city. Well, I don't know about it. I mean,
looks like they ought to be able to buy their own radio.
Right.
Help out a little bit.
Without having to say it, that's exactly what I'd have said.
I didn't say that out loud.
No, yeah. Erase that part. But I don't know how I feel about that. I mean,
Has there been any conversation with the city about them buying the radios? I would assume that that's come up at some point.
I've had that conversation, and I've mentioned to the city manager that you should expect that.
because I could imagine a third of this or more
More
is city.
Right
Because
at
of how
three-
many's on duty at one time, and I don't know the number there, but
Right at 300,000 for the city.
you got it up there already. So
I think that's a conversation worth having,
Yeah, that's it.
a real conversation.
before we move forward on the other,
I'm 100% sold that we need to go to the Viper system.
yeah.
That's
We all
not,
are.
that's not the question.
Not the question.
Well,
I'm sold on it now too, that I understand what it's about. I didn't.
Well, but I would like to have a conversation with the city about them contributing toward the
But I want to
purchase
ask
of their rigs.
Calvin, you can't find any of this money for North Turnpike water system? You got all this on this other requests on the side here.
but we had done that with the ARP money, right?
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
already
that's-
the 750,000 in there. But it's still going to be looking for, because that price tag is huge,
That's what I'm
still
saying.
going to be looking for other monies for that. That $2 million is,
Your bought for those
is-
specific.
well, these are the items that I requested
What it is.
$6 million for from the state.
And let me just say this. For the sake of conversation, if the city say, well, you all go ahead and do it. We're not going to do it. Okay, we're not going to participate. At the end of the day, we're Scotland County Commissioners, and all 34,000 and whatever, our responsibility at the end of the day. And while we're waiting to do it, I think we have to consider that. If the city say, well, we're not going to do it, we need to foot it along. Because if we say one life is worth all of that money, one life, if it were my child or.
Well,
me
the city's
leading-
gonna have less of a need for it because of the range.
Yeah.
But I still think
Yeah.
they should participate in this.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
Yeah, we think that they should, but I'm just saying, at the end of the day.
I get you.
And
They
I
get,
just
they
think we,
get money like we
what do
get
we do
money.
with
I don't
Yeah.
disagree, Commissioner
I just
Alford, but I think it's worth having a conversation,
I do too.
and then we cross that river if they say they won't. But give them an opportunity to
that's
participate.
when, give them an opportunity,
Yeah.
well, we can't give the city opportunity,
Yeah, I
but
mean, you need to ask.
if they don't decide to do it, our sheriff need to know tonight that, we're there. That's where I am on it. Because,
And all this.
like I said, you can't put a cost on a life.
Well, I think
That's where
that
I am.
they probably will. We haven't mentioned it to them, so we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask that we,
Either way, let's
as a
do it.
board, have Mr. Patterson have that conversation with the city, and then we come back and make a decision thereafter.
But now, can we go ahead, or should we go ahead and do the rescue funds, or do you need that allocation, or is that automatically?
The rescue, unless y'all tell me otherwise, those will be allocated there. With that, and well,
But I'm saying, do we need the action to do that?
I already have, the board has already allocated $300,000 for the rescue.
Okay. So
So that is done. But then, and this was stair stepping in, for the 2 million, the question is as much, do you want to allocate to Viper? And then also you have the other projects, if any, that you would want to go ahead and allocate to. But that, and also with the Viper radios, because we do have two vendors. And they submitted proposals.
For me at church, I need to.
But
Excuse me.
with the proposals, they came in two primary parts. The county has a proposal, and then the city of Laurinburg has a proposal. They were broken out so that if the board was interested in moving ahead, you could say, we want to move ahead and we want to accept the county proposal and table the city or table both and come back for a period of time, or come back later this month for a session.
How long will it take them to make the, I mean, I know they got to order the radios and program them and install them and all that good stuff. Is there a magical time for that?
Yeah, once the board approves whichever, vendor we want to go with, then of course, the order placement would have to be made for all of the radios that's going to, entail for this project. Once all the radios come in, then they all have to be programmed.
And then they got to be installed.
And then they have to be installed as far as the mobile radios that will go in all of the emergency vehicles that are being allocated to receive them. So this project will move into probably December into the winter. This is not something that's going to take place in a few weeks or even a month.
I'm just concerned doing it. I mean, I'm fine with doing it that way. It concerns me with the city and the county being on two different systems because they would not be able to talk, right?
No, yes. So by both the county and the city agreeing to move to the Viper system, this will give the city and the county the capabilities to be able to interact and communicate with each other.
But if one does it and one doesn't, you can't use that radio. That Viper radio is not going to work on a UHF.
That is correct.
Right?
Yes. And there is just so that the board knows, there is a interest in both the city and the county moving forward with this Viper project. There is.
I'm sure that.
You say there's interest of the city moving forward?
Yes.
Okay.
For all of public safety. Yes.
Okay, well,
There is an
okay then.
interest.
Well, they haven't.
Mr. Chair, I just think in being good stewards, we owe it to the citizens to have the conversation. If it's no, then we'll deal with it, but at least have the conversation.
So
You suggested that. Can I accept that as a motion?
Yes, sir.
for the county or the city?
City, to have that conversation.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were taking a motion for that on a county level.
If I may, Commissioner Gibson is suggested that we ask the county manager to have a conversation
Oh,
with
yeah.
the city, and I think I've asked for that to be
That's
made
a
in the
motion.
form of a motion.
Yeah,
So we have a motion and a second by, I believe, Commissioner McCall. Any further discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The
Well, we
ayes
can
have it.
go on and approve it as is right now for the county to invest in it, right? With, and not wait for the city's response, right?
We can do whatever what action this board chooses to take.
Well, I do have one question on how would you handle,
I don't know.
The question I would ask, excuse me, Tim, I'm sorry if I've cut you off. Robert, if the county commissioner said, we think this is the system we ought to go with, and we allocate a little over $1 million to go to the system and buy the radios for all county and law enforcement, EMS, everybody that the county employs, and let the city make the decision whether or not they're going to join by buying equipment for their personnel. How bad would that hamper operations?
It could. My recommendation that we do this all together.
We either all do it or we don't go that move.
Yes,
Okay.
this needs to be an all or none deal, in my opinion. And I'll be more than happy to meet with the county manager. And together, we work with the city and we do what we need to do to make sure that this project can be successful. I'm very passionate about this project. I feel that this is need for our public safety. And the fact that we do have the support from the city, I think this is very doable.
It may be something that if the board does not want to take action, the city council will meet on this, I believe, the 16th of August. And this may be something that the boards would want to have would you want to have a joint session on, or?
I don't think,
I don't want to kick it down the road, but I don't think it's that difficult.
Or come back to a work session or push off till August?
No.
He says that they are willing
Just
to do it.
here, I'll make the motion that we go for the low bid 1.37 million including the county and the city, but at the same parallel conversation that we asked the city to participate on their $300,000 site.
I'll
Right,
second that.
right. No way we can pedal and swim at the same time and not have to drag this down the road.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah, I like that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. And I vote nay.
Calvin, what is a historic properties gonna do with $350,000?
That was part of the request that was made with Historic Properties received a $125,000 grant to work on the foundation for the John Blue House. The $350,000 request would be additional, really structural needs for the John Blue House.
So all this is going to John Blue House.
And with that, of the $2 million we got from the state, there's only $1 million left. So
Some of this would
can't
have to be
fund
cut back.
all of any of it. But with this, of course, the other parts of the requests that were made were Scotland Yard for $286,000. That would be a replacement of Scotland Yard, the Dragon Park, but that would be a community build, so it would not be fully installed. Splash pad improvements, $550,000. Major renovations to the John Blue House, repairing it. And then also the EDC is requesting or is currently in process of building a 50,000 square foot incubator space. They do have a $2 million grant. They have about 2.6 million of funds available, but with the last bid opening, the costs to turn it from a shell into an incubator space was the additional 990,000, which does outstrip what the EDC currently has in hand. Basically, it took it from a $2.5 million project. What was originally hoped to be a $2 million project is now a $3.5 million project. Just with the bidding, but there is a time limit on construction because there is a $2 million EDC grant that is out there. So the building needs to be complete by February of 2024, I believe. So this is not a situation where we can delay another year.
But if we do that, that's all the money. Then we don't have anything left for anything else.
Correct.
Well, but we also talked about most of these things. We felt like we could do some of them with ARP money. And I think the Scotland Yard and the splash pad and some of the stuff with Parks and Rec was to allocate money for Scotland Yard and apply for Parks and Recreation grants to do some of the other stuff. So we were pretty certain we weren't going to get all the money that we asked for, and we still felt like we could do most of these projects. So I don't think this is a situation that we don't do a lot of this stuff. We're just going to have to go to some of the financing that we provide by the county, not from the funds that we get from the state, because there's not enough funds from the state to do all of the things that we were trying to do.
And I know also, I believe with the EDC, there was conversations about asking for, on the shortfall, not only asking the county, but also making a request for the city of Laurinburg. So potentially, seeing about splitting that 990,000.
Well, I think we need to have that conversation definitely with the city before we allocate money on that.
I do too.
the 286,000 for Scotland Yard, that's as low as you're gonna go because that's a community build. So that's 300 of it there. I don't think the splash pad, $500,000 on that splash pad is a lot of money for the use that comes out of it. And historic properties would be very happy with half that amount, I think, especially if they get the grant that's coming in.
Got the 128.
Right. So
I'm gonna ask Carol what you would do with the rest of the money.
What was that, Betty?
Okay, I was wanting to know what are they going, you said they already got a grant, right? 100 and what?
128.
128.
And that was for the foundation.
That's for the foundation. Now,
Water damage.
what is gonna be done with the other 350,000?
It would be with the windows, it would be with the gingerbread framing around the house, it'd be with the fascia. There are railings, the upstairs porch would not, at this point, would not be safe for anybody to walk on. There's just a lot of, and then there's cosmetics, aesthetics of the house as well. I mean, if we're gonna fix the foundation to keep it standing, we want to also make the aesthetic part of it and the windows and the railings and the walkways safe.
I want to go back to splash pad, Commissioner Ivan. I don't want us to delete that and not do anything. I know it's been over 15 years since anything has been added, and much of the lack of use there is because nothing has been added. Maybe not.
yeah,
that
I don't.
much,
I
but
just
think-
that's a lot.
Yeah, I agree, but I think some additions, if we can get it out of this.
Well,
we need
I
to do
think,
something
I think I'm not opposed to the splash pad. I just think with the season of the year we're not going to get that done
right before summer's over.
before summer anyway. I would suggest that we allocate the 286,000 for Scotland Yard, and so that Brian can begin making grant requests
for the
other. And he felt like he would have better opportunity, if I remember the conversation correctly, if he had the money to do one, he thought he could double the money with this grant application.
Right.
So I would suggest that we do that. Hold off on the incubator, hold off on the splash pad. The historic properties, I think 350 is probably more than I would have considered.
It's very generous, yes.
Yeah, you could spend that much out there, but I don't think that's needed to get.
What's needed to do the basic, the foundation work? Is that grant enough to do that?
We're hoping that it is, but there's no guarantee.
There's no
Once we
guarantee
get
on
in
that,
there.
but
So even though
Well,
350,000, that's
no, I don't think that's.
But I
But
don't
I
wanna
would,
delete
I
this.
would,
Oh, I'm sorry.
150,000 in the house would do wonder. It would get it back open, so you can't open it right now.
Well, I'm tired of talking about it. We've been talking about the historic, that house for the last couple of years. We need to go ahead and
You could take that 350 and cut it in half and probably
Right.
achieve getting the house open for visitors
Right.
Yeah.
Especially with the grant.
with the grant.
Well, I want the splash pad done. That definitely, I feel like that is a benefit for the children of this county. So I really.
But do you want to spend $500,000?
No, no.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No.
You're talking about expanding it.
let's
Yeah.
let's get a better price for the splash pad.
Okay.
Right.
I'm gonna move. We allocate 286,062 for Scotland Yard and $150,000 to historic properties,
I'll
and
second
that we
it.
table the others till a later date.
I'll second it.
Great.
All right, we have a motion and a second by Mr. Ivy, I believe. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Thank you. Anything else in regard to this?
No, you've already.
So now we got 2 buckets of money to keep up with. The ARP money that's left and $500,000 of this that'll be left, right?
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, it's a good problem to have, but it is a problem.
Now, with that, had a request this afternoon, the city of Laurinburg's working on on their water expansion project. And by the water tower, they're looking to improve the lines and they need an easement, but it is crossing property that the city and the county own jointly. I didn't even know it was a piece of property that we had any interest in. It's 0.31 acres.
Is that
And-
triangle piece?
It's that triangle piece right where the one is. It's right off Caledonia. If you turn onto Caledonia, going back north, just before you hit the railroad tracks,
Right beside the water tower.
Yeah.
I know where it is.
And the city is asking if the board would consider transferring our 50% interest in the property to the city. So
So
they can
moved.
do it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it.
And that is all I have.
Commissioners' comments. Mr. Ivy. Ms. Goldston.
I don't have any.
Commissioner Gibson.
On August, no comment. Doesn't matter.
Commissioner McCall. Welcome back, by the way. Should have started with that.
Good,
Thank-
good
good to have you back. And no, I'm good. I don't have anything either. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And we come back September.
Second from Mr. Ivy. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. We come back first Monday,
Tuesday.
first Tuesday in September. Thank all of you for being here. Appreciate you being here.
First Tuesday in September?
Yes, because Labor Day, we pushed it back.
Okay, that you're talking about before me.
again.
Okay, I thought you were talking about another
Well,
one.
that's the day after though, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I have
Mr. Mack, how are you, sir?
invited the city of Laurinburg to take a tour of ILS Johnson
Yes, sir.
the 15th at 10 o'clock, if anybody is interested.